Hey, what's up everyone, this is Saurav here from TechYard and welcome back to our channel, and today I will be talking about the killer launch from Lenovo. Yes, you got it right, I'm talking about the K8 Note. In this launch event, I watched the whole launch event and I got some points to talk about. I will definitely reiterate all the specifications that you already know, but that's my job, that's my duty. And afterwards, I will talk about why you should go for it, why you should not go for it, what are the good things about this device, what things are really actually scaring me off, and I will talk about everything in this video. So if you are very new to this channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and let's get started. Now guys, if you really want to watch this video in Hindi language, the link will be in the cards. There is a channel of ours. I mostly upload videos in Hindi there, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. You will get this video in Hindi language in that channel as well. So guys, starting with the processor. Now the processor that we are gonna get, it's not from Snapdragon's end, it's from MediaTek and it's called the MediaTek Helio X20. Now it's a deca-core processor, which means you are gonna get 10 cores in your mobile device, and at the same time it is divided into 3 clusters. The first 2 clusters are the most powerful clusters. They are having 2 A72 cores clocked at 2.3 GHz. Afterwards, there are 4 clusters. There are again clusters. Cluster number 2, which is having 4 cores which are clocked at 1.85 GHz, and the architecture in that case is A53. Now that's A53 is an old architecture, but even nowadays it is somewhat used in most of the devices. Now coming forward, there is another cluster and which is clocked at 1.4 GHz, having the same architecture of A53. Now I will be talking about in details regarding this MediaTek Helio X20 later on, but moving up, we're gonna get the dual camera setup that is really amazing. Now this is not a monochrome plus RGB setup. This is more of like a primary cameras with a secondary zoom camera with lossless zoom and with better bokeh effect. And yes, we are gonna get the portrait kind of mode that we have seen on iPhone 7 Plus or phones like that. Now talking about the camera setup, this is really amazing. We get a 13 megapixel rear camera with a pure cell sensor, alongside with a 5 megapixel camera for the lossless zooming and etc stuffs. And that 5 megapixel camera is also having a Samsung BSI sensor. So Lenovo has taken the photography very seriously, and they have done that previously with their K6 Power. I really love that phone for its rear camera, and in this case they have done a marvelous job with the camera setup, and I'm really happy with it. So in the case of rear cameras, and yes, obviously we are gonna get a dual tone LED flash in that rear camera as well. Now talking about the front camera, don't get disappointed guys, we are also getting a 13 megapixel front camera with a LED flash. Now this is not a dual tone LED flash, this is a normal LED flash, but the good thing is you are gonna get the professional mode in the front camera as well. Now what it actually means is that the rear camera as well as the front camera, both the cameras going to have autofocusing. Now talking about another good feature that they have added, and they were adding since K3 Note, is the Dolby Atmos. But there is a disappointment because I was watching the whole launch event, and in that launch event they never claimed that the phone has dual stereo speaker. So I don't think we are gonna get the dual stereo speaker setup. And with that being said, with a single speaker that they have mentioned in their animation or whatever you call it, I don't think the Dolby Atmos, at least from the speaker, will be a 3D surround sound like experience. And they haven't mentioned anything spectacular about the 3.5mm headphone jack. So I expect it will be regular that it used to be. So like the audio quality from the 3.5mm headphone jack, it's going to be great, but they haven't mentioned or they haven't done anything spectacular with the 3.5mm headphone jack. Now talking about music, we also get the Theater Max support and a dedicated button for music playback. Now this dedicated button is called music button or play button, whatever you call it, and it is remappable. You can easily select it to open up the flashlight or open up certain apps like WhatsApp, Hike, whatever you do, and you can easily do stuff like that with that camera. It's not like the Bixby button in Samsung S8 that you can remap. You can easily remap it with certain apps, certain gestures and whatnot based on your preference. Now talking about display guys, we get 5.5-inch 1080p Full HD IPS panel protected by Corning Gorilla Glass. Now they haven't clearly mentioned the version, but I believe it is going to be the Corning Gorilla Glass version 3 because 4 and 5 are costly enough. Now talking about one good feature that they have added is the dedicated SD card slot. Now there are some companies who prefer hybrid slot over dedicated SD card slot, and sometimes they force us to do something, hacking type of things using 2 SIM plus a SD card slot, and that is really not recommended by me at all. So Lenovo has done a very good job. They have implemented the extra dedicated SD card slot. You get 2 nano SIM card slot in one and another slot for the SD card, and that's a very good very good feature, I would say, that we're gonna get on the K8 Note. Now talking about a few more things is the battery backup. We're gonna get a 4000 milliamp hour battery, a metal aluminum unibody with a splash resistant. They have clearly mentioned that the phone is splash resistant, but it is not water resistant. They have clearly mentioned that also. So now talking about the one thing that you people I hope you're listening still now. So talking about the deca-core processor. Now a lot of people don't like MediaTek. I don't know why don't you like it. Sometimes I also don't like MediaTek for their approach, but this time with the X20 there are a few differences that you need to know. Now the closest competitor with Lenovo nowadays is definitely Xiaomi, and Xiaomi closest offering is the Redmi Note 4. So if you just talk about the processor on both the devices, yes, the Redmi Note 4 has a Snapdragon 625. It is one of the best processors that I have used. And if we talk about the performance and the battery backup, Snapdragon 625 is way ahead of the X20. But there are good features of the X20 that we need to see as well. Talking about the architecture, the processing. So talking about the processing, it is processed on a 20 nanometer architecture, which is not bad at all. Now previously we were using the 28 nanometer architecture processors. Nowadays 40 nanometer FinFET is the new addition to the family, but 20 nanometer falls just middle of both the architectures. So yeah, X20 might not be that much power efficient like the 625, but it is not as less power efficient as any 28 nanometer architecture processor. It's somewhat middle of them, and moreover than that, it is way more powerful than Snapdragon 625 thanks to the 2 cores having the A72 architecture. So overall and all, I'm quite happy with Lenovo's offering. Now I have to look for a few more things. Is that the first of all, heating. Now previously we were using Lenovo's own Vibe UI on different Lenovo devices, which is probably the best UI that I have ever used. Now I mostly do videos on Xiaomi, but I still love that, and that's probably the best UI that I've ever used. Be it fluid, it's fast, the RAM management excellent, but they have ditched that this time. We are gonna get stock Android Nougat out of the box. That's a good advantage though. Now talking about one more thing, we have to look forward how they have actually scheduled all the tasks with the processor, how they have tuned the OS with the processor. We have to look deeply into that fact, and then I will get to know about the heating issues or not. So yeah, I'm gonna buy the product. And talking about buying the product, we get 2 variants. One is having 3 gigs and 32 gigs of storage, and another one is with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. Pricing is very convoluted. The 3 gigs edition cost 13,000 rupees and the 4 gigs edition cost 14,000 rupees. Now why it is convoluted, I really feel that the whole pricing is a kind of confusing. Now look, I'm gonna buy the 3 gigs edition. It's just because I have other devices that I will be comparing with this device, the K8 Note, and they are gonna definitely have the 3 gigs variants. And so I will be going with the 3 gigs variant, but if you have the money, go for the 4 gigs variant. Skip the 3 gigs variant for me. So this is all for today, guys. I hope you love this video. K8 Note is a very good offering regarding the price tag. Yeah, if you just compare with Redmi Note 4, the 3 gigs edition for a Redmi Note 4 cost 11,000 and the K8 Note cost around 13,000. So there is a 2,000 difference, but we get dual camera setup and Gorilla Glass protection and few more other things that Lenovo has mentioned in this video, I mean in the launch event. So I will be looking forward to that, and I will be buying the product, and I will give you the product link in the description box below. If you really want to buy that, hit the use that link. That will help our channel. So then bye people, have a great day. Hope to see you in my next video. Stay awesome, stay subscribed.